To night 5 of the Draft Sharks Invitational for 2022. And welcome to the deep end. Mike Schauf, Adam Krautwurst, Matt Schauf is drafting tonight. And of course, he and the others of us and Jared Smola have been broadcasting or podcasting each one of these drafts since it began last week. It's 5 out of 6. I'm tight with Matt here because I drafted 12th and he's drafting 12th. So we'll compare and contrast. Should be a lot of fun. And yes, we're all wearing the same clothes from this afternoon's show because we've all just been sort of running around since. So, that's out of the way. Welcome to the Draft Sharks Invitation.
Record. Fresh shirt for me. I have showered.
Oh,
there you go.
Whoops. the first and only mistake of the night. Welcome to the Draft Sharks Invitational and the deep end. Before we dig into Adam's life, Matt, any thoughts or strategies you want to divulge before we start?
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep all my strategies to myself and not tell any of you what I'm thinking until after I make my picks.
Okay, should make for great radio. Adam, what are your thoughts? I'll turn on Matt from last night. Adam, what are your thoughts on what Matt said?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for Matt here. This is not a judgment-free zone. This is a judgment zone tonight. So we are going to be judging, comparing, contrasting. Mike, if you could bring your draft up on your screen, then you can, although you're a savant with this stuff, you'll know exactly who you took and when you took them. So, but it'd be fun to compare yours and Matt's drafts.
I might be able to do the first half of it. I was excited today to see the names Wan'Dale Robinson and George Pickens on my team, and we'll see where they go tonight or even tomorrow after some good news on. I mean, Pickens is like, sorry, I shouldn't talk about any player yet. He's dominating my Twitter, and I don't even live in Pittsburgh. So let's before we get into picks, the right thing to do here is meet everybody. So we'll go through the 12 drafters tonight quickly here. Drafting at 101 is Justin Boone of The Score. We almost had Justin Boone in our fishbowl draft in Buffalo. He lives in Southern Ontario, but he was unable to make it. You can follow Justin on Twitter at Justin Boone, spelled just like you would think. At the second spot is Jack Miller of Establish the Run at Jack Miller 02. 2019 FFPC main event champion Mike Porreca picks in the third spot, Mike POR 21. Mike, the fantasy hitman, Wright, fantasy footballers in the 4th spot. Sigmund Bloom of Footballguys at Sigmund Bloom. Come on, this is such a cool tournament. Sigmund picking 5th. Jordan Daniel of Fantrax. Thanks to Fantrax for hosting. I think the boards look really good and nothing but good feedback that I've heard about Fantrax's role in hosting our tournament this year. Congratulations to our player picking 7th, Liz Loza, who just announced today she has joined ESPN as a fantasy and sports betting analyst at LizLoza_FF. Lord Reeves, Rich Hribar of Sharp Football Analysis at pick 8, since it is Fantasy Football Expo weekend upon us here. I'll always remember Lord Reeves for helping me carry 5 beers over to Adam and Fantasy Mojo and Mike Clay and some other people last year. One of the highlights of the weekend.
They were all for me.
The big winner. Sorry, Matt?
Does that make it a workload share? Or are you guys beer by committee?
Night, yes.
Yes. He volunteered. He's like, do you want help with that? I'm like, yes, I do. Chad Schroeder. Everybody in the high stakes game knows Chad's name. Even if I have been thinking it was Schroeder all this time. But today I'm like, okay, I watched him with Billy Muzio last night. Schroeder it is. I apologize for that mistake in the past that I've made more than once. 24 times a full season champion of national fantasy competitions, an FFPC main event, and he won this event, the Draft Sharks Invitational, last year, much to Adam's chagrin, who finished 2nd overall and 2nd in the same league as Chad. If you watched our show all last year, you saw every week the screen came up. Chad won, Adam 2. What can you do? At Chad SCH23. Ron Meyer in the 10th spot. Chris Lambert, none other than Chris Lambert of FFPC, says he wins something every year. And also, apparently, he's really funny. Hysterical, even. He's won main event leagues, auctions, dynasty leagues, and classics at 2 Packer on Twitter. 11 is Todd Burros, Run to Daylight, friend of Draft Sharks. He's one of our first guests, Adam, since we launched the Deep End 2 years ago. Accomplished best ball player. Very few players get more compliments about their analysis that I see anyway than Todd, a finalist in last year's FFPC Best Ball Championship at Best Ball NFL. And finally, the one and only Matt Schauf. There's no IDPs tonight, which is an obvious trouble spot for Matt, but I think he'll do fine. He seems to do well in everything. At Schauf, SCHAUFDS.
I gave you a smug answer when you asked for my strategy ahead of my pick in the first round, but I was hoping that quarterbacks would not go off the board as quickly as they did. They did, and it gets me to an uncomfortable decision at QB, whether to take one here, who to take. And I think...
Can I write it down?
Yeah, go ahead and write it down. It's probably not going to be who you think.
Okay, well, then I won't show it.
Oh my gosh, it's the same. It's the same start as Smola.
It is.
From the 10 spot or wherever he was.
That's right.
9. I like it.
Let's go through each night. There seems to be more quarterbacks in the first round, so it's a growing trend. Joe Allen at the 101. I think that's 3 out of 4 drafts, or 4 out of 5, maybe for Allen. I'm not sure, but it's been he's the leader in that category. Jack Miller takes Lamar Jackson as quarterback 2, then Mike Porreca, Patrick Mahomes at 103. Mike Wright with Jonathan Taylor at 104. We'll be watching him throughout the night to see how he figures quarterback out. That's been a really interesting part of these shows, I think, throughout the tournament, following the teams that don't start with quarterbacks to see what they do. Sigmund Bloom takes Justin Herbert at 105, starting a run of 4 quarterbacks in a row. Kyler Murray for Jordan Daniel, Jalen Hurts for Liz Loza, Russell Wilson for Rich Hribar. I think that's probably his max so far in the tournament, 108, maybe. Christian McCaffrey took Chad Schroeder at 109. Back to quarterbacks. Ron Meyer takes Joe Burrow. Todd Burros takes Dak Prescott. And Matt takes Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 1 again. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Russell Wilson pick, I like it after Hurts. I mean, he's got, outside of maybe a ceiling year out of Trey Lance, I think Russell Wilson has the ceiling over Burrow, over Prescott, and even over Brady, with depending on how much he's going to run, depending on how many rushing scores Russell Wilson gets. I don't hate him after Hurts. And yeah, you have to think the way the quarterbacks are going off, Wilson might not have made it back to him. So I certainly don't mind that pick. And hey, even if you flip-flopped him and he goes Eckler, Wilson, I mean, you're not going to take Eckler over Christian McCaffrey, but even if you flip-flop running back quarterback there, I'm sure he would have been happy with it.
Russ is the guy I was hoping was going to get to the end of the first round, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's been happening, Matt. You had reason to think that was likely, or at least possible.
Mm-hmm. I would say Brady's fine as a consolation prize. I didn't want to grab 2 quarterbacks there, and I thought about going Kupp, Stafford, but the elbow, like if this were, underdog and I'm trying to beat however many teams in whatever size tournament, I probably would have gone ahead and stacked Kupp, Stafford there for Superflex, but it's not. It's 1 team, 1 entry, 72 I need to beat. So Kupp can go off even if Stafford is limited this year with his elbow. So I figured I don't want to pile it all on him right now. We had a monster season from Kupp last year without a monster Matthew Stafford season.
Do you guys think, and Todd chimes in on the chat to say
not
at
so
111,
fast,
he would have
says.
taken Wilson himself, previously mostly a second-round pick, if not entirely throughout the tournament. Do you guys think, or what did you think when you found out when you were drafting in terms of which league? Because I thought going first, my first reaction to that was disadvantage, that there's information other guys will have that I don't have. But the way the quarterbacks have piled up in round 1, and in mine, I think it might have been 6. I got Hurts at 12. And I think he also went 12 the second night to Dwayne McFarland. I mean, it has thickened in that way. And now I feel like, Adam, maybe I was lucky to go first.
Yeah, because especially when you have, I think 2 of the first 3 drafts, a couple of guys didn't know it was Superflex, so even they're throwing off the ADP. So if you roll in draft 5 and you're looking back at the other drafts, it's not really going to help you. So, but yeah, no, I think there's something to be said about going first so that people don't have that advantage of seeing ADPs and stuff like that of this specific tournament. And you don't feel like you're stuck to something either, so I kind of like that.
We did throughout last night's show, League 4, see stacking opportunities that were passed on. That was one of the themes last night is, oh, he can take this guy. I mean, I'm always looking for that. It's the level of obsession I've reached where I'm like, okay, well, there's that quarterback, so this player. And a lot of times last night that did not materialize. Those stacks were avoided. A couple of times tonight already, we've seen the opposite. Team 10, Ron Meyer, Burrow, and then Jamar Chase at 203. Team 2, before we eventually will recap these rounds, but Jack Miller at Team 2, Lamar Jackson, Stephon Diggs, and then back with Mark Andrews, which is maybe what we have the Diggs block at 211 for the second night in a row. And, he did get through with Andrews, if that's what he was thinking.
How fun.
Zach Kruger, by the way, last night told me he was not at all thinking about Habib's team in the 2 slot at all and what the stacking, but it was fun to sort of wonder about.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Matt, if you want to comment or you just focused on yours, you got a little bit of time here. Have you noticed that? And is it maybe part of your plans tonight?
I think so. I think that my plans as far as stacking goes are pretty much what we've said the past few nights. I would favor it if it's close between them, but I don't feel like I need to go out of my way to compete stacks here. And I would definitely rather just assume that people are stack blocking each other than ask and find out that they're not. I want to go on with fake storylines in my head.
Adam, what did you do stacking wise in yours? You remember?
I don't. I probably didn't do a ton. I think I got a Trevor Lawrence, Evan Ingram stack, maybe Christian Kirk. I might have got Kirk in there too, but I didn't do a lot of, because I had Kyler Murray. I know I didn't end up with a lot of those receivers there, but yeah, like I said, it's fine to do, not super necessary in a 72 team tournament, but if it makes sense, go ahead and do it.
I think it's interesting that we only have one team that took 2 quarterbacks through the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Team 6, Jordan Daniel.
Yeah.
Murray and Stafford. That makes Stafford quarterback 12. Aaron Rodgers to Mike Wright at, am I counting right? Quarterback 13. So last night we might have had 14 through 2 rounds, and tonight 13, and then none since. So round 2, Matt took Tom Brady to go with Cooper Kupp. Todd Burros takes Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 2, with Dak Prescott. Ron Meyer, Burrow, Chase, as we mentioned. Chad Schroeder, Lance with McCaffrey. Lance is the name I wrote on the piece of paper. But we don't talk about our losses. We don't talk about our losses. Right. Austin Eckler with Russell Wilson to Rich Hribar. Liz Loza goes CeeDee Lamb with Jalen Hurts, wide receiver 4. Jordan Daniel, Murray Stafford. Sigmund Bloom, Travis Kelce with Justin Herbert. That seems like good value, said the guy who picked Kelce at 2-1 in League 1. So 2-8 for Kelce tonight, yeah. Tight end 1. Aaron Rodgers to Mike Wright, as I mentioned. Then Devontae Adams with Patrick Mahomes to Mike Porreca. Stephon Diggs with Jackson, also mentioned that. Dalvin Cook rounds out round 2 to Justin Boone, puts him with Josh Allen, and that is running back 4. Adam?
Yeah, what I find interesting too is, like, I don't know how much Superflex Jordan Daniel does, and I know when I was first getting into Superflex, man, it was just so much more comfortable and so much more safe to take. Hey, let's just take the top 2 quarterbacks on the board. Then we don't got to worry about getting caught in some type of quarterback run. We don't got to worry about getting sniped on a guy that we're waiting on. It's nice and safe there. He takes 2 quarterbacks now. He doesn't really have to worry about the position for a while.
Okay, but see, I totally feel that. Doesn't that sound like an inherent disadvantage to sort of decide on a strategy first, especially when you're picking in the middle like that and you have more opportunities to move around?
Yeah, I'm certainly not saying that that's what he is doing, but I just, sometimes I just you don't know how much Superflex people are playing. Now, hey, if he's the only one who took 2, maybe it was the right move, because he's zigging when everyone else is zagging. So, we won't know about the build if the structure looks good until much later on. But so far, 2 quarterbacks and a running back, I think is a fine start.
I wasn't commenting on him at all. I was just more commenting on you. I mean, this is a judgment zone. And I'm like, if you're signing up I want to get the quarterbacks out of the way. I mean, it might not always be right to. You might have drafts. I think mine in League One was an example where you might have wished you hadn't. You might have wished you'd waited as opposed to just push in on 2 right away. But it does feel good. I mean, everybody would agree to get that done. Matt is through his next turn, and we'll just talk about his team while we have him, since he's done for a few minutes. Cup, Brady, Trevor Lawrence. That'd be quarterback 17, I believe. And Najee Harris at running back 11. So that seems like good value, Matt.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We just did the show earlier today talking about good and bad vibes, and I've had bad vibes on Najee Harris throughout draft season, but when he's the 11th when he's the 11th running back off the board, can you tell it's Superflex and I'm thinking about quarterback? When he's the 11th guy off the board, it's like that's when I feel like you have to push through your bias and go ahead and say, well, that's just good value. Even if all he has to do is stay healthy and he's going to pay off at that price, even if it's not a great season for the Steelers.
Absolutely. I mean, that's such great value. And Matt, I think, Mike, did you get Trevor Lawrence in your draft?
No,
I think
Hurts, Cousins, Pickett.
Okay, I think me, Matt, and Jared are all got the Trevor Lawrence. The draft war room screams Trevor Lawrence there. Najee Harris, great pick. Love him. After Henry and Javonte and Kamara. Although, hey, I was on the Shark Bites before the show started.
Yes,
Melvin
Javonte
Gordon,
Williams.
foot injury.
Bad vibes or good vibes? I think good vibes have arrived in the chat on Javonte
baby.
Williams.
Those vibes are better.
You guys want to re-rank him after that?
I want to.
No, really. Like, if you drafted tonight, wouldn't you draft him a little earlier?
Somebody just did. Liz Loza. Maybe she's got even more information. Maybe
running back
more info.
9. What do you think, Matt? Like, you were down on him today. Does today change anything?
I haven't had a chance to read how significant the foot injury is. I mean, obviously it's better for him than if Melvin Gordon had 2 healthy feet tonight. So I'm glad at the moment that somebody else kept me from having to make the decision so that it wasn't staring at me. Honestly, as the round moved on, I was like, man, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Derrick Henry are all still on the board. I was like, are these guys going to make it to my turn? And then they went off in succession. So it changed things. But I mean, you have to like Javonte Williams a little bit better now, even if it's a minor foot injury for Melvin Gordon. I'll look into how serious it is before I can say whether my vibes have changed totally.
Jared Smola is not with us tonight because he had a spa night, but he is able at the spa. I can see him. He's getting all the treatments, but he's able to chat. He's able to chat on the show, and he's like, Matt and I started the same top 3, but jealous he got Najee Harris in the 4th. I don't remember who Jared got, but that does seem like a good value there, as we said, for Harris. So hope you're having fun, Jared. All right. Anything else about trends here before we start rattling off picks again? Seem interesting, or did anybody reach on a player? I don't see anything glaring here, guys.
No, looks about right. Looks like, it feels real good there to take the Trevor Lawrence, because then even like Jared was saying last night, Tua, like, man, who loves taking Tua there? Not really. Matt Ryan, like, it really drops off. I think it's could be a huge teardrop after Lawrence there.
Trevor Lawrence, pick 1, round 3 to Matt Schauf. Then Todd Burros, his second quarterback, Justin Fields to go with Prescott and Justin Jefferson. Derek Carr to Ron Meyer to go with Burrow and Chase. Kirk Cousins at 304 to Chad Schroeder. McCaffrey, Lance Cousins is his start. Derrick Henry at 305 to Rich Hribar. Russell Wilson, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry there. Javonte Williams, as we said, 306 to Liz Loza. Jordan Daniel takes another running back, at least in terms of the 3rd round, not in terms of his roster. Murray, Stafford, Alvin Kamara I'm going backwards. I just realized I'm going backwards. Lawrence was not the first pick of the 3rd round. He was the last pick of the 3rd round. 3rd round reversal is not in play tonight.
We knew what you meant.
Should I continue in that direction and just, play it backwards later, or what should I do?
That's right.
301 was DeAndre Swift to Justin Boone. 302, we talked about Andrews with Jack Miller. Barkley to Porreca. Pitts to Mike Wright, and then Mixon to Sigmund Bloom. Everything else we covered. I apologize for reading right to left.
Mike, just be careful. Round 4, if you read it backward, it's a message from the devil.
Yeah, that was the right one. Talking about Najee like we did. That was 401. So let's see.
Pitts and Barkley. What a little sweet spot there at the beginning of the third round, or the kind of 3 and 4 guys we talked. Or one guy we talked about a bunch today was Pitts, and I just think it's I almost feel like in Superflex too. Like the draft doesn't start until like round 3. Like once 16 quarterbacks are taken. All right, now we can start constructing our roster here. And from the looks of it too, like I can't remember what's the latest we've gone without someone taking a quarterback. I know I can't think off the top of my head, but tonight we didn't even get one out of 2 rounds, right?
It might have been round 5 the other night.
Right, round 5. Okay. Yeah. So and then to see Mike Wright take just 1 so far through 5 rounds, and it's Aaron Rodgers, who I'm not very high on. I don't think a lot of people are high on him, but so yeah, it's been interesting to see how he can kind of circle back and fill that super flex role.
Looking at my draft, round 5, Matthew Friedman, Matt Ryan.
Oh, there you go.
League 1 was, I'm not sure if that was the latest, but it was a little bit late. Yes, we're referencing this show we did earlier today on the Draft Sharks page. It'll be up on Twitter if it isn't already. The 4 of us with Jared talking about good vibes and bad vibes, players we were, generally in or out on. And so you can find that there. This is familiar, isn't it, Matt? Last night, teams 1 and 2, 1 quarterback through 5 picks. We saw that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when teams go that long. We saw it work out for teams last night. I'm not sure how many in previous drafts did that 1 quarterback for so long. And there goes Travis Etienne, that I had my fingers crossed was going to get to me, although probably, wishful thinking that he would get through the next few picks. But yeah, I wanted to make sure to take a quarterback as one of my 2 picks last turn. I thought about a couple, but just took the 1, and now I'm back on the clock. So I got to see who I'm taking around this turn.
There you go.
And we will watch carefully. 19 quarterbacks have been picked through 59 picks so far. Justin Boone, Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, and then AJ Brown at 501. So we saw Zach Kruger that did it differently last night. He waited a long time on running back, but you saw quarterbacks on the left side, Draft Sharks League 4, if you want to look for it, last night. That is similar to how it played out in terms of the quarterbacks who were picked. All right, let's do round 4 while Matt makes his selections at the 5-6 turn. Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette is the order. It's late for Harris. It's about in line for the other guys on that list. Tyreek Hill goes at 405. Then Tua at 406. Is that Liz Loza's team? I can't see names anymore.
Yes.
406. Okay. Debo Samuel, the first receiver for Jordan Daniel. Thanks, Adam. Murray, Stafford, Kamara, and then Debo. Mike Evans at 408 to Sigmund Bloom. I asked Sigmund for some sort of tip-off on his picks. I'll just pretend like I didn't know and guess it, or if you want me to source it, whatever I'll do. He's like, I am just winging it, is what he said. Mike Williams at 4-9. That is Taylor, Rodgers, Pitts, and Williams. Matt Ryan, second quarterback for Team 3. Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Adams, and Saquon Barkley. T. Higgins at 4-11, and then DJ Moore again at 4-12. Matt, how'd you do?
I like it. I like that Breece Hall made it to me. I was happy to take him as my second running back, and then it was deciding who that second pick was going to be. But Brandon Cooks, he's just like a nice warm blanket to me. I got comfy on the couch. I took Brandon Cooks, and then we'll see how we add on to that. So I like the turn.
Yeah, I'm a big
running backs,
Breece Hall
2
guy.
receivers, 2 quarterbacks.
I think I got Breece Hall in mind. I got Hall and Connor, I think, in mind. Love Breece Hall, especially some of these high stakes leagues. Get him at the end of the third and in a standard draft. Sometimes he creeps into the 4th, which is really nice when you start heavy receiver. I think he's just got a workhorse load there. Not good. Did they just lose an offensive lineman for the year? I think Mekhi
Yeah.
Becton. Yeah, so that's not great. But I just think the workload and the talent will be there. So I really like him. And Draft Sharks is probably some of the highest in the industry right now as far as projections on Brandon Cooks. So you'll see Cooks in a lot of Draft Sharks teams too.
James Conner, by the way, a strong value, I think, in this draft. He was right with Najee Harris on my board at that turn. I thought about taking James Conner over Najee Harris, but I just couldn't make that selection. So he went another round and a half beyond that.
I'm sensing a little bit of a dip on him lately since we got some Eno Benjamin praise. And, it does sort of seem like common sense with a running back like Conner or any running back that you'd want to have different guys. You'd want to rotate a little bit. And now there's more speculation, I think, that Arizona will be doing that than there was. Maybe there would have been the same guess, but we didn't know who the guy was. And there's a little bit of clarity in that direction. Not that it has to, turn out this way, but toward Benjamin makes me wonder if Conner will slip a little bit because, he's been around. He's had a lot of injuries. And while the team is a good situation and he did so well last year, I don't know. He's somebody where I feel like instincts, Adam, could slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, and vibes too. Like I think that Connor's a guy that projects really, really well. But I think to me, when you get to a guy like Connor, and this might not be the right way to look at it, but some stuff I think about. There's a handful of running backs in the league that if they get hurt, when they come back healthy, they're not going to lose their job no matter what. Because they're just the guy on the team. They're really good. I don't know if Connor is in that zone. I don't think if he gets hurt and misses, maybe. Yeah, he could be. But I know Matt, and it's not even an Benjamin thing. It's just I don't know. The vibes with Connor, the projection's there. I've got plenty of Connor. I'll continue to draft him in the right spots. But he's not a guy that I absolutely love pulling the trigger on because he's shown in the past to get dinged up and to kind of disappear for half the season. But I do know that they love him there, and they should.
That's why he's going to stay down. And I think my response to that is the team paid him exactly the same that Tampa Bay paid Leonard Fournette. So there's no reason to dislike James Conner more than Leonard Fournette. If anything, Fournette might be a bigger injury risk than Conner.
And a bigger risk to not get his job back because White is probably significantly better than Benjamin. So, and they're both kind of in the same area for me. They project very well. They're in the good offenses. The offense has used them in the passing game, so I totally get it. And I'm taking him in round 3, stuff like that. But I just, and I think part of that has to do with getting him in the 8th round everywhere last year too. It's oh man, I got to spend a 3rd or 2nd round pick on him. So that's probably a blind spot.
Still not many quarterbacks going. We're midway through round 7. There might be 8 or 10 starters left as many teams have piled up wide receivers in these rounds. Team 1, that's Justin Boone with 4 in a row, 4 through 7. Team 4, that's Mike Wright with 4 in a row, 4 through 7. 3 out of 4 for Sigmund Bloom at 5. 3 in a row for Team 8, Rich Hribar. Lot of wide receiver. I know, Matt, you have Cooper Kupp in round 1, and then Brandon Cooks is coming up your turn here at 7-8. Are you feeling a little bit behind there or no?
No, not at all. We've got 25 rounds tonight. I fully expect to have some wideouts on my team that I don't particularly like, but that's the format. You're going to need to you're going to have to wait somewhere longer than you would like to. So for me, I'll do so at the position where every team in the NFL has 3 guys that they put on the field regularly.
Yeah, that's the whole point of picking. I like picking running backs early. It's like you said, 25 rounds. You're going to grab receivers that are going to score 1 touchdown all year, and then when the week they score, it's going to be a 40-yarder, and you're going to start him. You grab a couple of those guys. Timing, obviously, luck is involved with that, but luck's involved with all of it.
Some quality names at receiver in round 7. We haven't gone through 5 or 6 yet, but just at receiver, as Matt will make his pick at the turn here, look at these names. This is a super flex draft, but still, round 7, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashad Bateman, Michael Thomas, and Amari Cooper so far in the 7th round. 8 receivers, and there were 9 in the previous round. So this is, and everything's like what, 2 rounds later or so in terms of Superflex drafts, but you've got 17 receivers in these 6th and 7th rounds out of 24 picks, Adam.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just thinking the same thing before you said that. Like team 4 there was able to get Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, followed after getting Kyle Pitts. So that's such a nice start. Again, I like running back early, but that's a really awesome start for them. And Matt going, sticking with the Draft Sharks theme and getting Dallas Goedert, such a great pick. Hopefully he hits because I really believe in him this year.
Does that mean all 4 of us have Goddard, or Adam, do you not?
Do you have Goddard? I think we all do. I do.
I do.
Jared does.
On brand.
On brand, baby.
On brand, baby.
On brand. Oh, on brand.
If we only could have made him the breakout player. Oh.
Make him the breakout tight end or something at this point, just to
That's right.
Cash in. More receivers here going round 8. Kadarius Toney and Adam Thielen. It seemed to come out today that the Giants are not going to play Toney, Kenny Golladay, or even Wan'Dale Robinson in their first preseason game tomorrow night at New England. I mean, how about that for a rookie to get that kind of status, if that's what we see? I'm not sure that's official, but that's one thing, Matt, I think that's interesting to watch here as we get into the preseason is like who plays and who doesn't. There could be a lot of information there.
Yeah, and we're going to have to try to see what the coaches say about it, because some teams, somebody playing could be a bad thing. Other teams, somebody playing is just the plan. So what I will watch for, in addition to who is playing and who is not, is what is said about it. Because there are plenty of times where we overrate things or even just read them wrong, and it leads to moves in the draft. So I'll be watching for drafters' reactions to what actually happens.
2 games tomorrow night, Thursday night in the NFL preseason. New York Giants at New England and Tennessee at Baltimore. No Lamar Jackson in that game. That has been said. Quarterback starting to go here, starting with Matt's pick of Ryan Tannehill at 8:01. 3 picks later, Jared Goff, and then Mac Jones. I can't see the top, but I think we're at 26, maybe off by 1, going through the middle of round 8. I bet all these turn out the same. You could have some go right more in round 1 like tonight, or rounds 3 and 4 like maybe earlier in the Draft Sharks Invitational. But you get to round 8 and you're going to have a handful to pick from at the most.
I was hoping that the group that made it back to me at 7-8 would. I figured there was a chance that it would not, when I did not take a quarterback at the previous turn, when I took was it Breece Hall and Brandon Cook. So I'm happy that I got somebody from that group. I didn't have a specific target.
Team 7, Liz Loza takes David Montgomery, which, as you know, if you watched this morning, I've never done in my life.
Good for you.
I've never taken David Montgomery.
Good value.
I don't know. Is it that one year, two years ago, was he not a league winner late in the season?
I think that might have been 3 years ago.
I think it was the same end of season where Jonathan Taylor had his late season breakout.
So 2 years.
2 years ago, yeah. There was a night game at Green Bay where Montgomery tore it up a little bit late, even though they were way behind. In fact, Jakeem Grant, who tore his Achilles yesterday, return man, now with the Browns, had a great touchdown play in that game for the Bears. So more quarterbacks in round 8, 5 in the end. Carson Wentz and Baker Mayfield also go, and then Marcus Mariota. Adam and then Matt. So you're at this point, you've got 2, or Matt has 3. What do you want to do with everybody else? We're almost out of guys that we know are going to start the season. You're in Pittsburgh here, or Seattle, maybe 1 or 2 more. Is it worth it to pick one of them? Take the Steelers. They're the most relevant for this question. Is it worth it to pick one of them or not?
Steelers, great point. So that was my 3rd QB in the Invitational a couple nights ago was Trubisky. I think that's kind of the end to me, is that Trubisky kind of tier there. I kind of planted my flag when they picked him up as like, okay, he's going to be the starter. I'm certainly not drafting him as an only quarterback, probably not even drafting him in any of these main events, late or football guys or anything, but like in a super flex, like, all right, he's a guy I'm comfortable with as my QB3, kind of end a tier there and just kind of plant my flag on it, hoping that, you get I think you can get a full season out of him, especially the way the quarterbacks are playing there. But yeah, I think it just whatever you're comfortable with. Some people are comfortable with 2 quarterbacks that start and then 3, later on guys, 3 backups. I just don't want to take up roster spots with all these quarterbacks that might not get you a single point. I'd rather fill my roster spots up with receivers later on that might not get you a single point. So, but I think that's how I like to build my roster.
Matt, for me, just intuitively, 18 or 20 rounds, I don't know if I would want a third one. 25, I would, because
Sure.
like Adam just alluded to, a lot of running back receiver players toward the last 5 rounds are, super long shots also.
I'm definitely taking at least 3 quarterbacks in any Superflex draft because I want to have 2 quarterbacks in my starting lineup through at least the bye weeks. I want to try to maximize those scoring weeks, and I want to, try to make sure that I have 2 quarterbacks in the lineup every week. I think that the way that I was treating Superflex drafts on Underdog when they ran those tournaments earlier was I was treating it like the way you would treat running back in a more typical Underdog lineup, where you're taking probably at least 4. And if you're really strong there, you can stop at 4. And if not, I plenty of times went to 5 because I want to make sure that I get 2 and I want to get as many points from those 2 spots as I can every week.
Yeah.
Round 9 has been a running back round. Adam, you have another comment first?
No, it's fine. I was just going to comment on, I agree with the Underdog thing. You want to start 2 quarterbacks every single week. And in this format, you can start 2 quarterbacks, but you also have another flex spot too. So there's plenty of room for everybody.
What do you guys think of this order? The 5 running backs to go. I'll ask Adam as Matt's coming up here at the 9-10 turn. This order for running backs in this draft or any other, really, stacks notwithstanding, no reason not to ask a question like this across formats. Actually, it's 7 now have just gone in the first 11 picks of round 9. Here's the order: A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Antonio Gibson, Cordero Patterson, Rashad Penny. What stands out?
Yeah, what stands out is Gibson just keeps dropping. It's wild that he's all last year. He was in the, at the 1-2 turn. And he's a good player. And here we are. Granted, super flex, but he's going like the 7th round of standard draft deck down there with Cordero Patterson. And it just goes to show you, man, volume, opportunity. It's just so important. It's the whole RBs don't matter thing. It's like if you're competing with 2 other guys, whereas Cordero might be competing with none, Cordero Patterson. It's just that's kind of where it is. And so I think Gibson's a guy where any great piece of news, I think will shoot up because I think people want to draft him. People, we see it. It's Washington doesn't see it. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the thing that stands out to me. And also, Jacobs kind of been slipping too, and we talked a lot about him today.
So Gibson, I'm going to look unless you have it. What running back rank is he? Either FFPC, Mojo, or Underdog? I don't know if you have a number for him. Is he around 18? In this, he was later than that, I think. Is he 20?
Yeah, Gibson's around 23, I think, 22, 23, 25, some places.
All right, so running back 23. Adam, we're in Las Vegas, and oh, wait, this is not going to apply. Of course, he's not playing in the first game. Anyway, forget Vegas. He is running back 1 in Washington. They played Jacksonville the first week. He's not going to be on waivers, but I'm just trying to get to a point about, like, if he has a strong game, which, I don't know if they're favored, but it's Jacksonville, and Antonio Gibson is good. So 23 for 90 and 1 or 2 touchdowns, something like that. We'll be talking a lot about him in week 2. And, that they still, Washington, one of these times they're going to do something smart, and it hasn't happened in a long time, but it seems like Gibson should have a higher ceiling than he's given credit for, I think. I mean, there's three guys. The McKissick thing is super weird how that happened. Yeah. I want to believe in him. I'm not drafting him very much, but I just want to believe in him.
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of saying earlier is people, a lot of people want to believe in him. They just, so any nice piece of camp news, any positive speak from the coaches, like there just hasn't been anything positive, I feel like, in 2 years with Gibson.
More running backs into round 10. It was 7 in round 9, and it is 4 of the first 5 picks in round 10, starting with Matt taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 10:01 after Treylon Burks at 9:12 to go with Ryan Tannehill. That was probably intentional.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that gave me good vibes, Mike.
Good vibes. I mean,
I was hoping that I would have a shot at Treylon Burks later, so I was ready to take him there, and my board agreed with it, so that made that an easy pick. I thought about, actually, I didn't really think about it at the time. I was kind of looking at Russell Gage, trying to line up future potential picks, and I saw somebody took him in the middle of this round. Liz took him. Maybe he should have been my pick instead of CEH with that next one to stack with Tom Brady. Not one that I really am too worried about, because certainly Tom Brady can have a good season with Russell Gage not being a league winner. But CEH, I've talked about him on a bunch of our shows. He's going after guys like Rashad Penny, Cordero Patterson, Antonio Gibson, and Tony Pollard here. I mean, come on.
He was injured today, but the latest I've seen is considered minor, leg injury at Bucs camp. They've had some drama already, Tampa Bay. Edwards-Helaire, man, Adam, Kansas City. There's just so many different possible outcomes there, right? Like every day with this Pacheco, today there's like a blocking video making the rounds. Like this guy's really good. He's got the athletic profile. He doesn't have draft capital, but so much buzz already. He's somebody who probably will get a chance to show us and the Chiefs in the preseason what he looks like, and that maybe will be important.
Yeah, I think it might have been Ian who posted. Someone showed a video today. It was of Pacheco blocking, and then a video of Ronald Jones blocking, and a video of CEH blocking, and like the Pacheco video got like 20 times the amount of views that all the other ones did, because everybody wants to see. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And then I listened to a pod today with Billy Musio and Chad Schroeder, actually. And Chad's like, one of the things he's looking for this offseason is he wants to see Pacheco, because nobody's ever watched Isaiah Pacheco play football. So I think people want to lock their eyes on him and see him play. And so I don't have a name on the tip of my tongue, but I feel like every spring and summer there is an Isaiah Pacheco that everybody gets fired up about. I'm sure you guys are better at this than I am, but I think it's just the fact that he's on the Chiefs and nobody believes in CEH, so they want to believe in something else. They want to feel like they're, I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but they don't feel like they're smarter than everyone. They're going to take Pacheco. I mean, so I think I could see Pacheco not making the team. I could also see him being there in their rotation there, and he could be an injury away. So again, we've got three preseason games, a bunch of more camp to figure this out, but he's fun to take in the mid rounds.
There are better comparisons to your point, but I'm thinking of Leonard Fournette and James Robinson. So Fournette, did it seem like longer? He played for Jacksonville for 3 seasons, and at the beginning of year 4, late August, they cut him. Yeah. Now, that was not a team expected to win, and Kansas City is quite the opposite. But we'll see. I'm not trying to spook Matt. Matt didn't pick Pacheco. No one has yet. He picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a first-round pick, going into his third year or fourth?
The third year.
Third year. Lots of pink continues. 7 running backs in round 9, 8 in round 10, and 3 of the first 5 in round 11. So that would be 18 running backs in 29 picks. Not bad. Edwards-Helaire, Chase Edmonds, Ramondre Stevenson, broken up Dawson Knox at 10:04. That's Chad. Kareem Hunt at 10:05 to Rich Hribar. Receivers, Russell Gage, Chase Claypool to Liz Loza and Jordan Daniel in the middle. 4 running backs. From there, Miles Sanders to Sigmund Bloom, Damian Harris to Mike Wright, Devin Singletary to Mike Porreca, James Cook to Jack Miller than Tyler Lockett to Justin Boone to round out round 10. There are Cook and Singletary back-to-back again. Matt, we've seen that plenty.
Yeah. I think they belong right next to each other in drafts because, as good and as exciting as James Cook might be, I don't think that he's going to take over the backfield. And I don't think that Devin Singletary is going to keep him from getting too big a share of the backfield. So I think they're going to be annoying to own in lineup setting leagues because they're each going to have weeks where they outscore the other one. And best ball, I think that they will be far more attractive. But I think, as you said, I think they belong right next to each other.
Yeah,
we've seen that a lot.
Yeah, even every year it's Singletary and somebody, right? It's Singletary and Moss. It's Singletary and Moss. Now it's Singletary and Cook. So yeah, I mean it's just fine. Leave him there. I'm definitely on Team Cook for fantasy, just because of the catches. And I think that's something that they really want to do in Buffalo this year. I think is lock into that pass catching role with the new offensive coordinator.
Also in this 10th round, so the two Bills running backs and also the two Patriots, the two lead Patriots running backs, you would think. Ramondre Stevenson, 1003, Damian Harris, 1009. There's a little bit of Damian Harris trade speculation in the air. Similar to Buffalo, two teammates going pretty close together. Adam, who would you pick between Stevenson and Harris? I'd pick Stevenson for kind of the same reasoning as the Bills situation.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Stevenson. I think Stevenson's better, and I think he's a better better pass catcher, and has the better upside. I mean, when he had the opportunity, when Damian Harris was down last year, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson had some absolute smash games. So catching the ball, running the ball, and that's what they're going to want to do. Mac Jones is, where the campus, he's just not picking up Patricia's offense, and so. They're going to probably lean on running the ball. They have a really, really good offensive line. I mean, they have a really good O-line, a really good defense, and their quarterback stinks. So they're going to run the ball. And so, but I'm on Team Ramondre Stevenson.
Stinks.
Always stinks.
Mac Jones?
In 2020, yeah. Into 2022, oh, yeah. Come on.
Two scarier words in the language of football than Patricia's offense. I'm not sure.
I know.
4 tight ends in round 11. Matt is on deck. The order there is Komet, Okwebunam, Irv Smith, and Freiermuth. I have a tougher time with Freiermuth, actually, Adam, than Okwebunam. I feel like Freiermuth is more just more stuff going on. It's harder. Like the name I can't do without sort of making sure I go really slowly is Tagovailoa. That's a super hard name for me.
Yeah, that's super hard for me. And Todd's struggling tonight. Todd Burros. He said he's been sniped twice on a position. So maybe you get him on tilt here, Matt.
Let's see.
Matt taking no time. Robert Woods, Tannehill, Burks, Woods. Okay. And Deshaun Watson for quarterback 4, right?
Yeah. That's the time.
There you go.
If it doesn't work out for him, I'm still okay because I got 3 ahead of him. But if it does work out for him, and, morals aside for our purposes here, it's big points.
Yeah, completely agree.
So we are through 11 rounds and change, coming up on halfway. League 5 here in the Draft Sharks Invitational, a 6-league tournament. I'm Mike Schauf with Adam Krautwurst. This is our regular twice-a-week deep end broadcast. Matt Schauf is, of course, with Draft Sharks, as is Jared Smola. Matt is drafting tonight, and Jared is not with us, but I think we have Jared tomorrow for the 6th and final league draft. Ron Meyer asks, what kind of monster takes a 4th QB when I only have 2? Chris Lambert told us about his sense of humor. I'm not sure he has one in this area, Matt. You might have really
you can
Ron.
tell Ron, since he's watching, that I thought about taking Watson last turn, and I'm glad I didn't because these morons are taking all those tight ends and leaving them there for me.
Oh, judgment zone.
I love the judgment zone.
Matt, what else has happened here as you've been drafting that sort of not, changed your plan necessarily, but you've noticed and you thought might have been interesting? Because we're watching everybody and talking about positional trends, and you might be watching in a different way as a player.
Yeah, so I rarely go into a draft with a specific plan. You know, I told you guys that I was hoping Russell Wilson was going to be there at the end of round 1, but I wasn't like, okay, I'm starting this draft with Russell Wilson and then this other player. It was like, all right, I hope that that's the quarterback, but I know that quarterbacks could go nuts in round 1 and it could just look very different by the time it gets to me. And I don't know if that's how most people draft or if that's different about me, but I don't go in with a concrete plan, because I think if I do that, then I'm setting myself up to have to scramble once things inevitably go different. And especially if it's a draft like this, where I did watch the previous 4 drafts. I was on with you guys in various combos. So I know what happened in these other drafts, but I also know from the past 2 years that last draft could look completely different from this one. So I don't know. I think flexibility is always important. And that's what I love most about these formats that do something different, because it makes everything even more unpredictable. It makes you have to move on your toes. And that's always felt to me like the thing that I do best in fantasy is in draft. I can, pick a lane based on what I have and decide how I'm going to proceed from there.
Yeah, I like that. I also like, kind of a quiet stack here that I haven't seen many people do, and it's a type of stack. It's an archetype of stack. Oh my gosh, that I really like to see. Tannehill, Burks, Woods. I get it. They're not going to be great. They're going to be a run heavy team, but that's silly. Most of the passing yards and receiving yards, if everything goes to plan, is going to be through Woods, through Burks, through Tannehill. And, you got them round 8, 9, 9, 11. So I think those are those quiet stacks that don't cost a lot of money or don't cost a lot of draft capital. And you can get them, and they're it's a really nice floor every single week to know, like Tannehill's going to throw, I don't know what we haven't projected for, but probably in the 20s for touchdowns, and Burks and Woods are going to have most of them. So every week you have a nice floor of a touchdown and a half every single week. So out of your mid to late round picks. So I really like those kind of cheap, quiet stacks.
Yeah. So I'm not betting on the Tennessee pass offense going nuts. I am hoping that Ryan Tannehill outperforms where I drafted him as my third quarterback. And if he does, it's going to be a mix of those two guys along the way. I don't think either one's going to explode. Certainly if one explodes and the other disappoints, then I'll still be okay. But I'm expecting that they both kind of come along with him if things go well for Tannehill.
Archetype.
Did you see that on Sesame Street earlier this week or something? Because I feel like I've heard Adam say that on every show we've done this week.
We have got. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it's gonna archetype and arbitrage. Archetype and arbitrage. We just got to shoot these words to the moon. Every single thing I hear, arbitrage and archetype. They're both 9 letters. Yes, they both start with A. let's move to the B's. Let's get out of archetype and arbitrage and just use words that it's fantasy football that most of us know.
I like to find the words that everyone I listen to 20 podcasts a week, and I do 110 podcasts a week, and I feel like it's a word that I see written and hear spoken. It's kind of like last year. I forget what the words were last year. It was like when someone was not good, they were dust, right? They were dusty or dust. Everything was dust. This year it's archetype is the word. Arbitrage, another great one. So I use them as much as possible, kind of very, very tongue in cheek.
I try not
to use
cheap. Sorry, go ahead.
Arbitrage is cheaper.
Did I say it was cheap?
Is that cheaper? No, that's what it means. Cheaper.
Oh yeah, cheaper. Yeah, right. Rebate. Right.
Let's go with cheaper.
Cheaper. Right. That's right.
Right, Matt.
I thought arbitrage was the area in the hospital where they kind of take care of somebody because there's not a full room available.
Arbitrage. Oh. That's right.
Arbitrage. Wow. What happened to this show?
What happened?
I do. When I'm doing shows, I try to steer away from using words that some of my viewers or listeners would need me to define. If everybody doesn't know what I'm saying, then I try to not use that word.
Yeah, it's on me. It's on us. We're listening and watching so much that you find the more you listen to a show, you find those people have said it to me for many years. You sort of find those ticks or habits or, whatever go-to words. And, if you have a good attitude about it, you hear that and you try to maybe do better. Round 13, we had a 7 wide receiver run right in the middle of round 13. Matt's coming up again, Adam. So I'll ask you your thoughts on this order. And this is, again, not knowing stacks here, but just the order of these picks. Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Christian Watson, Joshua Palmer, Devontae Parker, Kenny Galladay, Rondale Moore. Pickens, wow. Like, that's happening.
That is happening. Now, I will say Garrett Wilson's a guy that I'm starting to, as the high-stakes season gets going here, he's a guy that I'm starting to come around, and I'm trying to find other guys in that range that I like, because the draft, as more I start drafting in August, I get sharper drafters now for higher stakes, and a lot of the guys that I like are getting sniped. So I have to find exit routes, however you want to pronounce it, and and I feel like Wilson could be one of those guys. I mean, the gap between him and Elijah Moore is so big in ADP, and there's a shot that Garrett Wilson, he was a top 12 pick in the NFL draft, some maybe even top 10 for the Jets. So I really liked him. I mean, Ohio State receiver, come on, really, really good. So I think he might be going a little bit later. I think there's a chance he could be pretty good this year. And in best ball, I don't mind just taking a shot on him. Is that me? Who is that?
That's mine. I'm not sure what's making it do that.
You won.
Clock running down, I think.
You won the draft.
Yeah, I was like, man, that pick must have been really good.
The secret word was Gerald Everett, it turns out. Ingram went 2 picks ahead. You were hoping for Ingram with Lawrence too? Come on, right?
Yes.
If I'd written it down.
That hurt watching Ingram. And that was the 3rd straight tight end. That's Ron Meyer saying, I'm still mad at you for taking Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to stack block you. I don't care. I don't care if he goes on and says that's not what's happening. I'm going to believe that was the case.
It is.
Isaiah
Pacheco to Todd at 13-11. I bet he didn't get sniped that time. If you pick Isaiah Pacheco, that's who you wanted.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He definitely wanted Isaiah Pacheco there. He wanted him. He got him. Good for Todd.
Matt, through 14 rounds, we'll wrap up pretty soon. I think this draft is moving faster than other ones as we're well past the halfway point here, an hour into our show. Anything? Todd says he wanted Carter, so he sniped forever.
Chad sniped.
How do you feel it's going?
I feel pretty good. I really, really wanted Evan Ingram to get there, and I was wondering as I watched more tight ends go, if I should have left Watson on the board for him. I think there's a whole lot more upside, though, to Watson than the Ingram, Trevor Lawrence stack. And, we've talked about it before, not reaching for the stack if the value is somewhere else in this draft because it's a small field tournament. So it hurts to watch Ingram go elsewhere, but there was still tight end value on the board. And otherwise, I've been happy with it. I like picking at the turn especially in a format like this where you don't know what everybody's going to do. You don't know what's going to make it back. So I get to sit here and I don't have to say, I'm going to pick this guy this round and I hope this guy makes it back around to me, 7 picks later. I'm like, all right, it's my turn now. I'm not going to be up again for a while. I'm going to take these 2 guys and then we'll see what happens before it gets back to me. I can also there decide whether to, grab a tight end before more of them get off the board and I hate what gets back to me, or, start a position run in some other cases. So really it's a position I like to be in especially for this format.
Yeah, interesting. I see Julio there. I know we had talked about him for our main event draft a couple weeks ago, but I like it. Especially in best ball.
I don't have a Bucks receiver yet, so there's nothing that is completely making me drool here, so I might as well just take a shot on Julio and see what happens. It's late enough.
Yeah.
If you didn't just tell us, what's your general attitude about him? Long shot, dart throw. He's a little bit above that now. I think you have to mean it when you draft Julio Jones in most leagues.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably under market. I haven't really seen exactly where the market is on him right now, but I'm not hitting the season excited for it because I think his best path is that Chris Godwin is not ready. And the signal is that Chris Godwin is further along than I expected him to be. So to me, Julio Jones is just late in the draft. I have Tom Brady. I don't have another buck. I'll take a shot. And I think he's going to be more of a best ball guy than a lineup setting option. I don't think he's going to get into a point where I feel good about putting him into lineups in any given week unless they just have, an injury massacre in their wide receiver core.
Adam, our drafters have 11 rounds to go, a lot of work to do, a lot of fun names that, come on, 25 rounds is really fun. You have to dig deep here. What an exciting time this is with less than a month to go before the season, or what is it? 4 weeks from tomorrow is Bills Rams, and you're at the game in LA, and I'll be at the Bare Knuckle in Las Vegas. It's all coming up here pretty soon. Canton this weekend. We'll be on tomorrow as the deep end with one more of these Draft Sharks Invitational drafts. It'll be fun. We'll wrap up the tournament, and then we're on the road.
Yeah, heading to the Expo Friday to really grind out a weekend of fantasy football. It's going to be a lot of work, Mike, but somebody's got to do it. Go out there and hang out in Canton. And at the Expo, it was an amazing time last year. It's going to be even better this year. Got some poker, got some flag football, got some fantasy football. So I am excited for the weekend to kind of meet up with everybody, and we're even drafting a little bit too. So that'll be fun.
I did get some poker advice today.
Ooh.
A friend of mine is a pro, and he said, "When did you play last?" I said, 2006. I said, "All right. Well, here's what I would do."
Don't tell anybody that. That was his first piece of advice, right?
I guess I just did. But we'll have a good attitude about that poker, and maybe the bar will be fun. So I might, push in with 8-4, something like that. We'll see, suited, win or lose.
It's got to be suited.
So Matt, we won't see you tomorrow night, right? It'll be Jared.
Yeah. Not planning to be on tomorrow night's stream.
J-Rod. It's nice.
Nice forward to looking
nice
at this
team, Matt. Well done.
Yeah, well done.
Not nearly done yet. We got lots more picks to add to this one.
That's right.
Look at all that blue in the middle. So much wide receiver blue in the, what was that, 4, 5, 6 rounds, and then you have Team 6, Jordan Daniel, just stacking up receivers here in the middle of the middle rounds. So good luck to everybody. We'll be on tomorrow night. Next week we'll do some more of our drafts, Adam, and then get closer to the main event. And there'll be a lot of big shows coming up here. August is packed. So thanks for watching tonight. You can follow us, Mike Schauf at Schauf Talk, Adam at Adam_Krautwurst, Matt Schauf at Schauf DS. And good luck, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.